This episode of Another Happy Pod is going to contain spoilers. If you've not experienced the content yourself, please go ahead and do so before coming back and listening to the boys ramble on about it. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, welcome to this show, which is the greatest show, which is the circus, which is Another Happy Pod, the circus of podcasts, some might say. I don't know what that was. My name is Nathan, and as always, I'm joined by Lawrence.
Went on a real roller coaster with that one, didn't we? Even the way you said, I'm here with Lawrence, like I was a spooky ghost.
I was going to do some fun kind of circus pun for our names, but I thought of that as I was introducing myself, and then I realized I didn't have time to think of a pun, so I abandoned it completely, which is why
you could borrow the Ted Lasso. You could borrow the Ted Lasso Nate the Great. But Lawrence, there's not much that goes with Lawrence. Lawrence, the
paedophile.
Fun fact, I was waiting for that.
When I worked at a summer camp in America, there was a guy there, an older guy. I can't remember his name. Let's call him Jeff. He actually called me Nate the Great, and he was a very, I don't know, there was something about this guy that just wasn't right, but he was like 50, 60, and he was working at a summer camp, so that should tell you everything you need to know.
That was what it was, Nathan. There was nothing else.
Yeah. But yeah, he called me Nate the Great, and he was one of those who was kind of like Ted Lasso. He kind of had like an infectious personality. So who knows, maybe that series was based on him.
Maybe. Was that the point of that?
I don't know.
And then he grew up to be P.T. Barnum, and he made the circus. Who knows?
Yes.
Nathan, we're talking about a white people musical.
Boy, are we. But there's a sprinkling of some black people in there, though. Do they have any depth or story? Don't worry about it. But listen.
Look, is their presence in this film, i.e. an aid to an enormous racist, somewhat offensive in its pure existence? Yes, it is. Anyway.
Look, listen, we're going to talk about a feel-good movie about a man who literally owned slaves, okay? So let's get into this. It's time to discuss everyone's... This is kind of like the ultimate movie for, like, Facebook wine mums.
I'd argue Minions takes that cake, but
Minions I would argue that you're incorrect, and you're just thinking of the memes.
Well, that's what Facebook Mums is all about, is it not?
Yeah, but this is their favorite movie. Like they watch this movie and then they make memes about it with Minions.
See, I don't think they watch this movie. I think they listen to this movie on the radio in their cars on their way to work, and they go, "What's that?" Jack Human song, the This Is Me, or Here I Come, or whatever it is. That's a good one to bop your head to. That's what I think.
I think they watch this movie, then they feel good about themselves, because they're like, oh, isn't that a nice message? Let's not look any further into it. And then and then they feel good, which is what this movie is designed to do. Yeah, but personally, I take it.
Should it have been? Yeah.
There's a few things that are glossed over, shall we say?
You mean the ableism, the racism, the slavery,
or there's just things that are just made up entirely. But sure, let's have a little bit of a feel-good movie about one of history's most terrible person.
So you love this, right? This is a good movie to you.
I've never loved this.
I'll start this. I'm all for artistic license, right? Sometimes in biopics, the nature of something or like an event that took place doesn't serve the story that you're telling. So, the film takes it out. Like, I'm pretty sure they did that with the Benedict Cumberbatch Solves World War II movie.
Yes,
but in this one, they just make it all up. They just here's this guy, and he was the nicest guy that ever lived. He's the best dude on the planet. He's such a good bloke. But But none of that's true, is it?
It's not. He is a very, very just a bad man, to be honest. One of his first, let's say, attractions, because I don't know what else to call it, but one of his first attractions was allowing people to come and marvel at George Washington's like bedmaid, like his maid, slave, in other words. And it was just an elderly black woman who he just paraded up and down the streets and let rich white people come and pay like $1 or whatever it was to gawk at her. And that's literally it. That's the whole fucking attraction. Spoiler alert, it wasn't even George Washington's maid. It was just some random fucking black woman that he assumedly bought because slavery was still very much a thing. And he paraded her around and he sold tickets.
This movie's weird because it addresses that there is like oppressive feelings between
kind
race.
of.
No, but it does. But it acknowledges there. It doesn't hide from it. It doesn't go into it, but it doesn't hide from the fact that that was a thing. But slave is a very bad word. You don't see it. It's not in the movie. No one owns a slave. No one is kicking about with slaves. All the people, like all the doormen and everything else, they're all white as anything.
Yes.
Like it's like, oh, we want to touch on it, but we're scared because then people won't like our music on the radio. It's so, this film, do you know what? This is another Happy Pod. Hello. But this film fucking sucks in every sense of the word. Like, it's fucking enraging, this movie.
I think the peak of it for me, when I... And this wasn't something I picked up on the first time. This was like later I realized this. But the absolute peak of this movie is all the quote unquote freaks are singing the big like "Here I am, you can't stop me" song. Like I'm me, I'm beautiful, I'm gonna be who I am. That one, whatever it's called.
Yeah. That's all of them. That's every single song.
That's yeah, but the main one, the "This Is Me" one. There is people there who are legitimately disabled and, you know, have things that are very wrong with them. Not necessarily wrong, that's probably the bad way to phrase it, but you know what I mean. And there are also people who are, you know, different ethnicities and are facing very real prejudice and hatred and are facing genuine oppression and hurt from other people around them who want to actively harm them. And they are all being outsung by a woman with a fucking beard. It's like, you've got to fucking shave. Grab a fucking razor, all right?
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me these two are the same thing at all. And that fucking bearded lady also at one point says something along the lines of, like, our own parents were afraid of us. Like, have you had this beard since you was a kid? What's been going on? Like,
I thought that about the hairy man as well. It's like, surely you got to like maybe 16 and then your mum was like, that's a bit weird. But then go and do your own fucking thing at 16.
There's also a guy there who just has a lot of tattoos. Like, that's just self-inflicted. They don't just spawn on you. Like, you can't just get a load of tattoos and then be like, I'm an outcast, I'm a freak, society has shunned me. Like, you just got tattoos. Like, what?
Yeah, there's definitely so with half of the, as the movie calls them, not my phrasing, freaks. Yes. Quite like half of them are people that are extremely oppressed figures at this time in history, right? That genuinely could have feared for their lives in certain like just elements of oppression and et cetera, et cetera. And there's other people there. It's just like, you made a choice in your life, and now you're like, oh man, I can't get a job. I can't do this. It's like, well, you did it. But that's your fault.
Yeah. It's a strange thing to write a feel-good musical about, especially when you throw in the elements of racism and that type of stuff. Because that I get. You can do a musical. I mean, kind of. It's a little in bad taste, but sure, you can do a musical around that sort of stuff. But just the fact that you're putting it alongside a woman with a beard, it just like. Also, we have women with beards now. It's not that big of a deal. Sure, in 1850, yeah, but it's really not that big of a deal. Like, get over it.
I think it's difficult because this is a concept that very much should have been kind of addressed in the executives or the studio executives meeting, and they've gone, this is an ethical minefield and we should stay far away from this. What's the next
Yes.
concept that we can put Hugh Jackman in singing? Because that's the reason this was made, is because Hugh Jackman is singing and they wanted Spotify to fucking do numbers on their songs. And it's so evident because you know me, right? What is the one thing I always say about musicals?
Here we go. Something lives and dies by the fucking music. Blah blah blah.
Right, but it does. And the music in this,
Disagree. Once again,
right,
disagree. We've covered many musical episodes on this podcast. In the Heights, that other one we did, Hamilton, which never got released because we lost it. And you said this every time, and every time I must say disagree.
All right, fine. Well, then I think I found a point that we can agree on.
Say
right?
the actual line because I forgot what it is.
What about my opinion on this film is slightly different. I think this film was made, conceptualized and brought into the world because of the fact that they needed a jukebox musical with not a jukebox musical, sorry. They needed an original musical with Hugh Jackman in it that would do numbers and would be a feel-good thing that they could maybe push for like the original score or the original song at the Oscars. The music in this is so fucking vague because they're designing every single song bar one to be played on the radio so they can get one of them to a number one. Right, and it's so fucking vague. It will be a scene of like, man, my parents just basically spat in your face because you're black. Anyway, we've both got problems and let's sing. No. Any emotional impact that this film could have had, it then just becomes a music video. And it's terrible because none of it comes out of nowhere. And I've got this quote, and I won't go on all night, I promise. Right. So this was made. The musical style was not evoking the 1800s kind of time period, because the choice was to express not just the characters' feelings, but also how ahead of the time P.T. Barnum was. That was the reason they made it modern music, to express how ahead of the time he was. I would argue that he was incredibly stuck in his time. If anything, it was one of the relics of his time. And also, this was not made because you wanted to evoke the feeling of the character of P.T. Barnum. This was made so that you could sell fucking songs.
Yeah.
I've wanted to have this row with someone for a very long time, and I've never before had to do this type of looking into it to have the say on it.
I think it was something that Hugh Jackman wanted to do for quite a while, though. Like, it wasn't just something that was like thought up in like a fucking, I don't know who did it, Fox or something, like Fox's executive suite or whatever. It was something that Hugh has been pushing for inexplicably. I don't know why. Hugh, I like you, but this ain't it, brother. Like, I don't know why this is something he's been pushing for so long, but he has wanted to do this. He just loves musicals. He loves a show. He doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to get ripped every 2 years and play Wolverine. He just wants to have a little song and dance, bless him. And this is, I guess, what he was pushing for. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it was something that was just movie by marketing. That's what it's became.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Then, yeah, definitely. I think they, when they saw the potential of it, and when it wasn't a box office flop, because I think it was released around a Star Wars time, wasn't it?
Yeah,
around a Star Wars coming out.
I don't know. Maybe when did it come out?
I don't know the exact date, but I'm pretty sure it was around about a December time.
Yeah, probably then.
But yeah, so and I think probably when it wasn't a box office flop, and when white girls did start getting these quotes tattooed on them, and putting up fairy lights with P.T. Barnum's face on them in their uni rooms, they saw the potential.
It came out December 2017, so that would have been the time of The Last Jedi.
Fuck yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know how this succeeded when The Last Jedi was in cinemas around the same time as well. That's crazy.
I think this was a sleeper hit, though. I think, like, at first it didn't necessarily do that well. And then, like, word of mouth cottoned on, and everyone was like, it's a feel-good, and there's music and songs that are quite good. And then, like...
The white girls got their ukuleles out on YouTube covering this, and everyone went, what's this? Exactly. Wow! I'm going to buy the DVD.
Well, No one's bought a DVD in 10 years.
I'd argue that the Facebook mums that love this movie might have done.
Yeah, that's true.
What did you like? Did you like that he was a little boy that dreamed this his whole life, but then got the idea in his mid-30s?
I liked that he was a little boy and then suddenly he was 50-year-old Hugh Jackman. I did like that. Like during that song that goes on for about half the movie, he's like a 10-year-old boy or whatever, and then he's like going to get his wife after she's like graduated school. But there's no in between. There's no intermediary scenes. He's just one moment he's a little boy, and then he's not even attempted to make him look younger, just fully 50-year-old Hugh Jackman been like, I'm here to take your daughter to the prom or whatever. Yeah. I'd have some questions for this man who is
the man who answers the door, right? His wife, Charity's father, the man who ends up being his wife's father. So his father-in-law looks at max 10 years older than him.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's being generous. They haven't even like, you know how like they might ruffle an older guy's hair to make him seem more youthful. They haven't even done that. It's just regular Hugh Jackman in a hat.
It's just Hugh Jackman as you know him and love him, and he's just there like, yeah, I want to marry your daughter. And he's like, well, I don't agree with this, but sure.
I wonder if you noticed this, right? There's something that I quite enjoy about modern movies that are like, especially modern movies that are made for like a big kind of thing like this, like to be a big cinematic event type thing, that are set in old timey settings. There's always a scene where like they have to reinforce what time period it is. So there'll be a scene where like two white guys are talking, and they'll be like, "Sir, I heard of a fella out west that could put a horse and carriage in the air. They're calling it a plane, sir, with it, and it's got the wings and it can travel for miles." And then they really quickly have to put it back into the context of a movie. So they go, "Just imagine if you applied this mindset to this business that we have. Just imagine the things we could." And it's so fucking ridiculous.
It's very bad and noticeable. There's a lot of stuff like that. There's also like some very weird choices that are made, like especially in the beginning, because like there's like, first of all, that dude, like Charity's dad, he just straight up like fucking slaps P.T. Barnum in front of his dad. Can you imagine just being watching your own son just get beaten like that and just doing nothing? What an absolute mill. I'm glad he died. But anyway, when he did die, and then like P.T. Barnum was suddenly homeless or whatever, he like gets fed like an apple from like a, again, quote unquote freak, what I seem to be like a burn victim or something, and like you assume like that's gonna like set him on the path of like, you know, being raised on the streets by these people who are also outcast from society, and that's where he like grows this love of the, you know, the outsiders and whatnot. But no, just never comes up again. Don't worry about it.
It never comes up again until he goes, "But what if I could exploit them for money?" And then exactly. and that's how he gets the idea. Yeah, it's weird, and there are a whole bunch of weird choices. Like he's poor. But then, like, him and his wife are dressed very nicely all the time. Like, it's there's certain inconsistencies that are just very, very odd.
He's poor, but he goes from poor to rich very quickly, though. There's like, suddenly they're all living in, well, at first they're like living in like a shoebox apartment, which first of all, that alone in New York would cost you like $1 million these days, but whatever. Yeah. But, I get it. It was 1850. It was like you could buy a fucking apartment for a penny or whatever. But yeah, like they're all living in that like shoebox apartment, and they go from that to the biggest fucking mansion you've ever seen, with nothing in between. But also, he buys the mansion before he buys his daughter some ballet shoes that he promised her.
Yeah, what a dick. And the other daughter is like, "Happy birthday, baby. Here's a cup with holes in it. It's a wishing machine. You can use it to wish for a much better fucking present than this."
Yeah.
I like, but funnily enough, right at the beginning of the movie, that's when I prefer these characters the most. When they're poor and they're quaint and they come from nothing, or at least one of them does, because it's way more wholesome than what it becomes, which is just a man on his way to the top by fucking over every person he meets, whilst telling them, "I'm the nicest guy ever. Now shake my hand. I've just fucked you about." Like, yeah. It's not good. It's not good.
It's a con man working his way to the top, but there's no lesson. There's no like payoff. There's no hardship or anything. Like anything bad that happens, it's all fine. Like a scene later, it's all very quickly glossed over, and there's no real stakes to it. It's it's all just fake. Not even fake controversy, because it's not even controversy. It's just a little blip of trouble, and then no,
Well, there's like
everything's good.
there's like three instances in the movie where he's like, and they call me the con man. Or it's like, and they say I'm selling fake things. But then like,
Yes.
and then you're right, like, but you are a con man. You are lying, and you are selling it.
This movie, it doesn't necessarily commit to the fact that he is selling fake things. It's kind of hinting that, like, some of his acts are fake and stuff, but there's never really any, like, confirmation of it one way or the other. He even like, says to that critic, he even, like, has a wink and a smile to that critic, like, well, maybe it is all fake or whatever, but the smiles are real, isn't that what counts? And then it's just like, but what is it, though? What is it? Because that woman does have a beard, and why doesn't she shave?
Yeah, well, that's the main thing, isn't it?
That's my
think
biggest
it's
problem with
saying-
this movie. Why doesn't she shave?
I think he's saying that they're exaggerated, like, because like was it like the world's heaviest man comes in and he like greatly exaggerates the size of the man, and then like later on he's shoving pillows down his top or something to make him look bigger than he is.
Yeah.
Was it like the what's the other one that's a big, oh, like the thief that he has, who like he's like is the best magician around. Firstly, that's a stretch from the truth. But then also he just has him working the door. Like,
Yeah.
well, I don't understand any of it. It doesn't. There's so much in this that just doesn't make any sense. Like, I think it was a Jenny Nicholson video that pointed out that like they make a big thing about like their Jenny Lind and P.T. Barnum's kiss being photographed. Like they slow down the movie and there's like all these flashing cameras effects and stuff. And then what's in the newspaper is like an artist sketch.
I didn't see the picture in the newspaper. Is that true?
Yeah, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, there's so many things that I think if they, what this movie needed was to be watched once before it was released, and people go, oh yeah, no, take that bit out for it doesn't make any sense, and then it would be a lot more stomachable.
It could have done with a round of notes, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then maybe a new concept, because it is still racist, ableist, and everything in between.
And speaking of making things up just completely, the way they did Jenny Lynn dirty in this movie, my God, they turned what is one of the most charitable and famously just nice persons from history, and turned her into a wicked seductress who just wants to bed Hugh Jackman and then cancels her entire tour out of spite because he won't fuck her. Like, wow, that's quite the choice you've made there.
Yeah, it is odd considering that the hero of this piece is a slave owning racist
Exactly.
who abused animals and people for money. Like,
so from what I understand, Jenny Lynn left her tour because she felt uncomfortable with how much I was going to say Hugh Jackman, with how much P.T. Barnum was basically publicising and exploiting her. She felt very uncomfortable because she's all about, performing it for charity and giving most of her money away to like people who genuinely need it and all that sort of stuff. So she felt like uncomfortable with the level of like, come see this woman and pay me like £1 million or whatever. She didn't like that, so she was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna walk away. And in this movie, she's just like, I hate you, and I'm gonna kiss you and break up your marriage because you didn't fuck me.
Which is outrageous. It is, yes. And I do think because the casting of Rebecca Ferguson is good. Like she only has a few scenes, and like when she's performing the singing scenes, even though I know she's not singing, like she is giving a great performance, but it's just what a fucking waste. Like, and there's a few like big names that are wasted in this as well. Like it seems the spotlight is in all the wrong places, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. This movie cannot stop doing reprises of earlier songs, but this time the singer is crying.
Isn't that right? To be fair, isn't that most movie musicals though?
No! If there's a reprise, it happens like once, usually. But this time, it's like there's at least 3 instances where they do like a little reprise, but they're crying now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. There is a bit of that. This. I think it's because it knows it had the 2 big hitters. That was like, no, maybe 3. That it had like A Million Dreams, This Is Me, and some other fucking song that were like the main ones that they were pushing towards the Oscars. So I think that at any given moment they were like, it's been an hour since This Is Me played. Quick, do a reprise of it. Get it in there somehow. But yeah, I think that there's one moment in this that just really pissed me off, and it's when the movie critic turns around to Hugh Jackman and says, "Some would even call this circus act a celebration of humanity." Fuck off, get fucked. Like, the movie is telling me, oh, it's fine that we did this because this is a celebration of humanity. No, it's not. this is unethical. This is so wrong. Oh god.
Yeah.
It's actually taking the practice, minus the fucking the actual mistreatment in terms of like physical abuse and stuff. But it's still exploiting shit. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone in this, like, to an extent, was faked as well. Like the disabilities weren't up to the studio standards. So the dwarf that they have playing Tom something, they've made him smaller. Yeah, so they made him smaller, and then his voice wasn't up to scratch. So they digitally lowered his voice in post. Like, it feels like they were like, no, you're not the right kind of outsider for this movie, actually. So we're gonna just tweak it how we want. And these are people, man. Like, it feels gross. Like,
yeah,
I'm all about the consenting adult thing, but it's more about like it's not about them agreeing to it, because that's not my fucking business. But it is also about the message that's being pushed forward by the studio, which is
that's my biggest issue with it, really. The fact that this is celebrated as like a feel-good musical, a feel-good movie musical, which, it challenges oppression and stereotypes, and it's about celebrating people for who they are. That's my biggest issue with it, because on the surface level, just the absolute fucking tiniest brush against surface level, yes, sure, that's what it is. If you even look at that for longer than a second, though, you can see the cracks and everything else underneath it, and see the entire history of prejudice and slavery and everything else that it's just completely glossing over. And it's I was going to say it's almost insulting. It's not. It just is insulting. It's extremely insulting to people who actually have, issues and disabilities, and also people who have like suffered racism and prejudice and all this sort of stuff. It's wrong, really.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing of it. Like, it comes across as very, this is a good thing, and it's not, and it strictly is so that the studio could make money off of it and profit, and that's cool if your message, like, if you're going to use touchy subjects like this and your message is pure, genuine, and will push forward positivity into the world, great. I got no problem with that. But it's when it's like, here's a man that historically stands for everything that we're saying the movie, like, doesn't stand for. Do you know what I mean?
Let's see if this makes it in. I might cut this out. This is a very extreme example, okay? This is very, very extreme, and it's intentionally exaggerated. So I know that before I say it, okay? I don't need anyone to tell me that. But it's like if there was a movie about, let's say, Adolf Hitler, who celebrated the lives of Jewish people and let them all come and live with him in his big house where he loved them forever. It's kind of like that. Again, I know that's an extreme example, but it is kind of like that.
It's an extreme example, but the concept of a man who abused and tortured the very people that this movie is saying he was like a father figure to them. Like,
Yeah.
was it? There's parts in this movie where they're like, the circus was our home, and like in real life, the Tom Thumb was adopted at the age of 4, and then just put with no consent into the circus because not Hugh Jackman, P.T. Barnum owned him, so he was like, "You're going to perform for me, you little child." Right? He was legally adopted by him for the sole purpose not to raise a child, but to sell and exploit said child. And then in this movie, it's like, oh, the circus felt like our home. Stop it. I think that this is, if you go to enjoy this and it's a surface level, then fair enough, whatever. No one's asking you to think too much into it. It's not your fault the studio put this out. But if you look into it and you know the kind of guy that he was, then how can you be like, this is fine? Like, it's... I'm amazed that... And I don't know if it was the time period or what, but I think if this movie came out... Oh, but then Twitter was a massive thing in 2017, wasn't it? Like...
Yeah, I still think it would be the exact same. It would not be any different if it came out today than when it did like 4 years ago.
Why do you think this flew under the radar? Because there are clear problems with this, I think.
Because I just don't think people care enough to look or to look into it. Because like I say, it's glossed over. And so if they're presented with a nice feel-good movie musical, like, who other than us fucking freaks goes and like looks into what actually happened? Like, the usual thing to do is just go, oh, that was nice, I feel good, now let's not really think about it again and listen to the songs on Spotify or whatever. That's it. That's what this movie is designed to do. It's not designed to be... Well, I reckon the fucking execs or whatever were fucking praying you didn't look into it. But yeah, it's not really necessarily meant to like be looked into or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's just like... Oh, it's odd. And I get it that people aren't going to come away and be like... the movie presents you with a set of facts and then says, this is true. Or it just tells you that this is their version of it, and that's fine. And I think this is the boldest that that like a biopic type movie has ever been. Like, people were pissed off about like Bohemian Rhapsody, and like the timing of the big performance at the end was actually like before he was diagnosed with AIDS, and etc. etc. People were annoyed about tiny specific details of that, but then they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm fine with this. This is, look out, here I come.
I think the difference there, though, is like Freddie Mercury is a lot more recent than P.T. Barnum, and probably a lot more famous as well. Freddie Mercury is, people would have been alive at the time Freddie Mercury was when they watched that movie, so they would have known exactly what happens. That's not really the case with this. We're far enough removed from this period that we can make these leaps, and we can bend the truth a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah. 300-year-old Hugh Jackman's just had this in the can waiting, and when P.T. Barnum finally keeled over, he went, now is the time for the movie musical, The Greatest Showman, let's go. This is just a... I don't actually have much to say about it other than I just think the whole thing is offensive.
It's tough, because while I hate the movie, I do regrettably, and with extreme spite as well, I do like the songs. The songs are they're catchy, goddamn them. They're really fucking catchy, and you cannot help sing along to them sometimes, okay?
It's almost like they were perfectly manufactured to be that way, to sell the most amount.
Exactly, yeah. I do like those ones. The only one I have an issue with is The Greatest Show. This is The Greatest Show. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out what my issue with it was. I couldn't figure out why I didn't like it the way I liked the others. And I think I've clocked it today. I think I've realized. I think it's because it's trying to be both an opening musical number and a closing musical number at the same time. Okay. It's literally both of those things just cut in half. and it doesn't quite work because an opening is very different to a musical closing. They're like thematically different in terms of like music and everything like that, and I don't think it quite works, and that's why I think I don't like it. But
I
other
thought,
than
because
that,
you know when it gets to the end and Hugh Jackman's watching his children grow up and all sorts, and then it cuts in and he's like it cuts in and he has the more melancholic, it's everything you ever want, as he's watching his
yes,
daughters grow up. I thought that should have been the A Million Dreams song, because that's the song
yeah,
that
maybe.
was like the big thematic link between him and his wife, that they, and it would be a, I don't know, a metaphor, I guess, of the dream was never, like, he even says it in the bar that like he's been striving for success for so long that he forgot who who he wanted to be successful for, so that he could have the life with his wife and his kids. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it felt like the wrong song. So that, I think that makes a lot of sense, that it is trying to be an opener and a closer at the same time, and it kind of fails at both because of it.
Also sounds like a Fall Out Boy song.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Fall Out Boy covered it. Again, championing my claim that this was made purely to sell things, because then the second the sales started dying off, they were like, Pink and Fall Out Boy are singing it now. Buy it more. Come on.
I don't think Fall Out Boy covered it.
I'm
Not
almost
even.
certain they did.
Well, if only there was Google.
I'm finding it now. Yep. Oh no, sorry, not Fall Out Boy. Panic at the Disco. The same, otherwise known as the exact same band.
Yes.
Anyway,
It's not the same band at all.
you agreed for a second. I'm going to take it.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. You're not having that.
Did you like that the greatest opera singer in the world doesn't sing opera?
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah, it was good. And also that the partnership has agreed, and Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman go, should we go in 50-50? And they go, yeah, absolutely. And then on the first show back, P.T. Barnum goes, I reckon I might quit.
I was going to mention that. I was like, so what does he do now? Does he just stay at home but still collect a paycheck every week?
I think that's what it was. He went, hey, thanks for bankrolling me when I literally gambled my entire life and fortune away on this stupid fucking idea. Thanks for literally being the only person who's ever trusted and financially believed in me and backed me for nothing, by the way, for collateral on hopes and dreams or whatever. Thanks for that. Now do all the work while I sit on my ass and do fuck all. Oh, he even puts the hat on him and he's like, off to work you go, chip chip, fuck off.
He gives him the little stick.
Yeah, he's like, here you go, you'll need this to beat everyone. Oh wait, not in this movie.
Oh no.
That's no
Okay.
Animals, Nathan. Animals.
No, he can't beat the animals. They're CGI.
Oh, my mistake. You know, the director of this is was a visual effects supervisor. This is his first directorial debut. I'm not sure what he's done since.
So I'm sorry. I was going to say I did enjoy how at the end Hugh Jackman was strolling down the street on a giant CGI elephant, but his daughter didn't point him out until he was like already like pretty much right in front of the theater. Like, you didn't see that before?
Yeah.
He's like on a fucking 12 feet tall fucking elephant, and you only point him out once he's at the stairs.
No,
the street's like a mile long.
No, they didn't see anything. It's the way he rocks
Just suddenly
up in
rocks
that as
up
well.
out of nowhere. Yeah, how does he even get up and down it? There's no ladder.
I couldn't fucking tell you. He just jumps out and breaks his legs. Zendaya is another one in this. She's an amazing. She is a great singer and a great dancer. But I can't get past the fact that her character was put in it to be like, you're the oppressed one.
Yeah.
And nothing else. Oh, and by the way, you can only be happy once Zac Efron has decided that you're allowed to be. Like,
Also, why did they fall in love?
because he saw her in
Like,
slow motion, Nathan.
Yeah, like he saw her once, and then they like introduced themselves for 2 seconds, and then that was it. That's all the interactions they had. And then suddenly they was at the theater, stood next to each other, not even looking at each other, just stood next to each other, and like struggling to breathe as they tried to hold hands but didn't. And I was like, did I miss something? Have we skipped a scene?
It was just intoxicating. Like, no, it was movie language, wasn't it? It was classic. We don't have time to develop this because none of this happens, and we want you to focus on Hugh Jackman being a nice person. Also, Michael Gracie, the director, went on to direct Rocket Man after this, which was another biopic. I think it's okay, but a lot of people didn't like it too much, thought it was a bit too fantastical and dream sequence-esque, but I quite liked it.
But you are famously homophobic, so that makes sense.
How could I forget? That's very true. No, I'm not. Oh god.
I have nothing else to say about this. It's bad. I don't like it. If you do, it's fine, I guess. I can understand why, but just know that you have been sold a lie, and I am judging you for it.
One more thing I'll say. As I've always said about this, and my opinion has never changed, the only song that I think works in this as a musical is The Other Side. And I'll tell you for why, Nathan, because it sums up my movie musical point, which is the song starts, and then by the time the song ends, there is an extremely different dynamic between two characters, and the plot has excelled forward. It is not, let's stop for 5 to 7 minutes while I tell you about all my dreams that you already knew about.
We have discussed, as I said, we've discussed a number of musicals on this pod. I think it's fair to say that we both kind of like musicals. And for someone who does like musicals, you sure do not understand them.
That's very mean of you to say. I think. No, listen. I can happily sit through the
What praise?
No. I can happily sit through Hugh Jackman telling me how he feels, and his wife telling him how he feels, and then how she feels, and that blah 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 for 5 minutes, whatever. I just think that the songs are at their best when they're like they're necessary and they enhance the plot and they go forward. Because but it's right. Tell me that The Other Side isn't arguably the best choreography and one of the best scenes in this film.
First of all, the choreography has nothing to do with the story. I will agree that it's the best. I will agree that it's the best song in the movie. It is. I don't think that has anything to do with it progressing the story along, though. I think I've always disagreed with this point of yours because I think you're coming at this point from the point of view of movies and not musicals.
Yeah, probably.
Which is why I think you have that. I guess. I don't know, but the point is, I disagree. The point, it is, but it's also a musical. But the point is,
it's a musical as a movie.
Shut up. The point is that I disagree, and you're wrong.
Oh, okay. So no, well, I didn't know that one, so fair enough.
Yeah,
same people that
I do also like. What's that song called at the end? From Now On. I do also like that one. That's one of the ones that, like, it's a lie. I know it's a lie, but I can't help get caught up in it. I can't help get caught up in this feel-good fucking song, because it does make me feel good, and I fucking hate it. I'm angry that I feel good listening to that song.
And we can come back home, and we will something...
No!
Yeah, it's the same people that wrote La La Land wrote the music to this.
Well, I wash my hands of everything I said.
City of Stars. Dun, dun.
I've not watched La La Land since we saw it in the cinema.
That should be the next one we do. I maybe watched it like... I had a transformative viewing of La La Land maybe 2 years ago where I watched it and I was like, this is fine. And then one moment struck me and I went, oh no, it's terrible.
Oh no.
And yeah, I'll reveal that moment if we ever get there.
Next week, La La Land.
No. Definitely, no, I can't do that again. I can't do another one of these for at least a while.
Yeah, I have nothing else to say aside from Hugh Jackman's pretty good, and so is Zac Efron, and so is Zendaya. There's some good people in this. Boy, Zendaya does love. Well, Hollywood loves trying to figure out how old Zendaya is and not doing well at it. And also they love pairing Zendaya with short white kings.
They do, and short white kings that they can put on a harness and make him swing through the air. So that's another one. There's a moment in this where they're dancing and they're singing, and Zendaya's doing her trapeze act, and then Zac Efron's singing, and then as she swings past him, he just jumps on her and onto the rope, and I'm like, don't do that, you'll kill her! Don't do that.
I saw that. I was like, that doesn't seem safe. She's a trained professional. You're just some prick in a suit. Like, what are you doing? Can she support both her weight and your own?
That's the thing. Like the trapeze act is one that surely takes years to master, right? And she is clearly the best of the best in it. But can she take the weight of a man who is enormous, like built like a brick shithouse? Although he is only about 5'7".
They're like the same height.
So
I guess he's taller than Tom Holland, because she's definitely taller than Tom. But Zac Efron is like about the same height as Zendaya.
Right. Well, either way, it seemed very dangerous to do. Seemed like choreography that they went, I don't know, we'll just have him like jump because they need to be together, like they need to kiss at the end. So we'll have him.
That's also a good song. I enjoy that song as well.
I like the song. I don't like that it comes after. Listen, my parents are racist, but it's fine.
Yeah.
And then she's like, true, yeah. You know I love you. It's not a secret I try and hide.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Even though I met you like yesterday or whatever.
Yeah. It's not a secret I try to hide because there hasn't been enough time for me to see you and hide it. We've known each other for less than a day. But yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to talk about this anymore. This is The Greatest Show.
Yep. Whoa. Ladies and gents, we're doing this next week.
Why, hello there, fine gentlemen. My name is Batman, and I'm here to say, is anybody doing anything around Gotham?
Wowee, it's the Batman.
Seth is the fun.
No, it's not Star Trek. God, this is frying my brain. I want to stop this. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, that will come out Friday the 10th. It won't. It will come out Friday at 10 a.m. My brain hurts. I've had a terrible morning watching this terrible fucking movie.
You're not too far. I think it's Friday the 12th. It'll be. So
yeah, but I'd have said that at any point in the month. Like that was not a genuine. I'm not going to try and salvage it. Social media at Another Happy Pod, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're there. Review us. Give us a review. Electric Boogaloo. 5
Oh my god, I'm taking the outro away from you as well now. Okay. So rate us 5 stars on iTunes and Spotify and wherever else you listen to podcasts. If they have a rating system, we'd very much appreciate it. Next week, we're doing the Batman, maybe. And if you see that, go see it and have fun and let us know what you thought. Or don't. I'm not your mum. Anyway, bye.